Move in immediately.
Persona 5 is the latest number entry in the long-running Shin Megami Tensei spin-off series Persona. It has been nearly almost a decade since the release of Persona 4, and after many delays and several spin-offs later, we finally arrive at the launch of Persona 5. Normally, I am very wary of games that get delayed several times, seeing as this game was delayed from 2014 to 2017, or 2016 in Japan. Could this game possibly live up to the hype Atlus has been putting into this game for the last 5 years? I think the answer to that question is pretty obvious, but I hope to convey my thoughts and feelings of this game to you in this review. Going forward, any gameplay used in this review is reserved to only early game content as to avoid spoilers. Persona 5's story is a very remarkable one. You take control of an unnamed protagonist who's been falsely accused of an assault crime, and is now on probation in Tokyo under the watchful eye of a caretaker. From here, you must go about your best to live a normal life of a high school student. Sadly, this is a recipe for disaster for the protagonist, as in the first hour of the game, you are whisked away into the first dungeon in which you awaken to your persona. At no point does the story truly slow down. The game does a really good job of sticking to its theme of the Phantom Thieves and their supporters being society's misfits and outcasts. Every twist and every turn this story takes you on will leave you on the edge of your seat. The game holds nothing back in the themes it explores either. Atlus managed to discuss a lot of darker themes and messages in this game while handling them in a serious light, but never too serious to the point where it could almost ruin the game's charmful atmosphere. I would say that Persona 5's story is one of the best stories in the entire Shin Megami Tensei series, and one of the best and fleshed out stories in all of gaming. You will fall in love with the Phantom Thieves and your confidence, but that's for a later part. The Persona series has often used procedurally generated dungeons for players to explore to carry out the game's main plot. And while Persona 5 does indeed have its own version of this called Mementos, Persona 5 instead opts to focus mainly on a fully crafted dungeons for each part of the story. Each primary target the Phantom Thieves have has something known as a palace, the distorted cognition of a person's heart. In these palaces, the game switches from normal dungeon crawling to a mix of stealth and puzzle mechanics. These palaces are extremely large and can take several hours to complete, but never once did I come away feeling bored exploring these palaces. Outside of your free time around Tokyo, you will be spending a large amount of your time in these palaces trying to steal the treasure of the palace owner. Outside of palaces, which are only around for a short time, there is a place known as Mementos. This is where the traditional procedurally generated dungeons come in. Mementos is known as the People's Palace, as it's the thoughts of everyone in Tokyo. This is where the Phantom Thieves will take on side missions of reforming people's hearts that aren't their main targets. Completing these requests not only make you feel better as you were able to change someone's heart and potentially save many lives, but you also get a good item for your troubles as well. Mementos gives a nice break from the game if you want to drive around and beat up shadows without any fear of consequence. Well, almost no fear of consequence.
Skull fell down! Hang in there!
The gameplay of Persona 5 is for the most part similar to other entries in the series. You are on a calendar-based system in which you must complete your objective by the deadline while living a normal life. If you fail to meet your objective, it's game over. While in the palace, you must use a mix of puzzle and stealth dungeon crawling to proceed through. Each palace has a security meter. The higher that goes up, the more on guard the shadows are in the palace. If the meter goes up to 100%, you are forced to retreat from the palace until the heat dies down. This is where the stealth gameplay comes in. Unlike previous games where having a shadow spot you gave no real way to avoid them, this game allows you to go into cover and pick and choose your targets to land an ambush on them. The ability to maneuver from cover to cover was a very satisfying feeling once I got the hang of it too. Almost every fight at times could be avoided if you studied an enemy's movement pattern and find the right time to get to cover. That said, it's not always that easy, as some palaces may have other gimmicks that will make sneaking around a bit harder. However, this was a great break from form, and it allowed me to grind for shadows at my own pace, and formulate my own plan if I decided I needed to get through these shadows unharmed. So, what happens once you force a shadow to show you its true form? Well, that's where the fun begins. Persona 5 uses a turn-based combat system similar to previous entries in the series. Similar to previous entries, you have the ability to fight with your persona, or you can use standard melee attacks. Fighting with your persona allows you to perform elemental abilities, or you can perform buffs and debuffs. These abilities are crucial to your success in palaces and mementos, because if you fail to take advantage of an enemy's weakness, you better believe the enemy will not fail to take advantage of yours. While sticking mostly to its predecessors in terms of combat, the game adds something new to the battle system, and that is the Pathan Pass. If you strike an enemy's weakness and have one of your party members at the right confident level, you will be able to pass the baton to them and allow them to attack instead of you attacking again. The Baton Pass goes a long way of making the flow of battle move faster, especially if there are multiple enemies of different weaknesses. You will be easily able to pass the baton to another party member and continue striking the enemy's weak points. I never knew something so simple would add an entire new level of strategy to the game. I often found myself planning a few moves in advance on who I would pass the baton to as well, so I could easily set things up for an all-out attack. Outside of adding the Baton Pass, Persona 5 brings in two Shin Megami Tensei mechanics into the series that haven't been around since Persona and Persona 2. The ability to use guns and negotiate with shadows. Guns add a little bit of variety to the turn-based combat, as guns can be used to attack all enemies until your clip runs empty. The more shots you get off on an enemy, the higher a chance you'll have of landing a critical to knock them down. Once an enemy is knocked down from a critical or hitting its weakness from either the gunfire or other forms of attacks, you will enter into some classic Shin Megami Tensei negotiation.
All knocked down! That was incredible, Joker!
In negotiations, you can either ask a shadow to give you money, an item, or to join your team. The outcome of negotiations will boil down to how you answer the shadow's questions, but certain confidence abilities will give you the ability to ask for more, or to simply skip negotiations altogether. While the negotiations aren't as fleshed out as previous Shin Megami Tensei games, they are a refresher to have back to mix things up, seeing as this is the main way you'll be getting new personas in this game. Outside of the days you spend in the dungeon, you are free to do whatever you want around Tokyo, or spend time with your friends, referred to as confidants, or raise your personal stats. Outside of the stats you have from your personas, the main character has his own day-to-day stats that you need to increase. These stats allow the protagonist to further rank up his confidence, do well on tests, and get certain part-time jobs. The whole theme of this game is to balance your personal life with your double life as the leader of the Phantom Thieves. Time is of the essence in this game, so use it wisely. The last gameplay thing I want to touch on is a Shin Megami Tensei staple, and that is fusions. In this game, you are helped by Igor, Caroline, and Justine in the Velvet Room when it comes to fusing, or executing your personas. Persona Fusion is your best friend in getting ahead of this game, as fusing your more powerful personas with another one will let you get an even more powerful persona, and will let you choose which abilities you would like for it to carry over. Just keep in mind you are unable to fuse personas that are higher levels than you. The executions, while unsettling, fit the game's theme perfectly. Also, the lineup of personas in this game is surprising as well. They brought in quite a few obscure ones from earlier Shin Megami Tensei games.
I am thou, thou art I. Thou hast acquired a new vow. It shall become the wings of rebellion that breaketh thy chains of captivity. With the birth of the chariot persona, I have obtained the winds of blessing that shall lead to freedom and new power.
Social links return from Personas 3 and 4, but in the form of something called confidence. Confidence works the same way as social links. At the beginning of the game, you are told to form contracts or vows with other people you encounter, and they themselves will aid you in your journey. Confidence in this game are also used as a way to build up the main cast story, and also take a look in the life of the other misfits around Tokyo. Let's first talk about your teammates. Each one of them has their own confidant, and by choosing to spend time with your teammates, you unlock new abilities for them in battle, whether it's being able to withstand a fatal attack or stepping in with shadow negotiations. They all have useful things that will help turn the tide of battle in your favor. Due to the time limit and stat requirements in this game, I advise you to spend more time with your teammates who you know will be in your party the most. Outside of your teammates, there is a colorful cast of characters you can befriend, such as a washed-up politician, your homeroom teacher, learning more about your caretaker, and even a member of the Yakuza. Befriending these confidants are just as important as your team members, as leveling them up will give you new abilities in battle, such as better negotiation skills, to being able to save on precious free time. Because this game works in a calendar-based system, it is very hard to max out everyone's confidence on the first run, so you have to pick which characters you want to spend time with wisely. It was kinda sad I was unable to find a way to make time for each and every one of them. I say this because the game realistically gives you plenty of time to clear each story objective, which leaves you with sweet free time to spend with your friends. I am thankful for this because almost every one of the confidants are downright amazing. Each one tells their own story of their own struggles and why they don't fit in with society, much like the rest of the Phantom Thieves. By the time you get to the end of your confidant rank with these people, you feel like you know them on a much deeper level, and that you've truly become a friend that they can rely on. What really drives Persona 5 home is the visuals. Everything about this game is just downright amazing to look at. I never once thought to myself that I would be in awe over a video game's menu system. The game just oozes with style from every single aspect of the game, from the design of the dungeons to the menus to even the loading screens. Something I also really thought stood out to me in this game were the personas. In this game, the personas are different from the previous two Persona games. Seeing as you have to negotiate with them to join your team, different groups of personas have their own abilities, and I always found these personalities to be very charming, and added a nice touch to remind you that the personas are their own living beings in the metaverse. Another thing that really hits the game home is just the sheer amount of little things you can run into in your adventure. You are living in Tokyo after all, one of the busiest cities in the world, and the game easily reflects that. At your disposal, you have a huge amount of places to explore, and things to try and check out. As you explore all these different parts of Tokyo, the world around you continues to move on. As you explore Tokyo, you can interact and do the littlest of mundane things, such as eavesdrop on people's conversations to find out new missions and mementos, spend the day studying, doing laundry, go to the batting cages, or even go check out a movie. The game is always reminding you that outside of the metaverse, you are just a normal teenager, and these small things really hits that fact home. The small things aren't just exclusive to Tokyo either. While exploring palaces or mementos, the Phantom Thieves will sometimes begin having small talks to pass the time. It's in these little conversations that you get to see an even deeper level of their personalities. The game also has small animations that would always make me happy to see, such as the protagonist signaling his teammates to move out after the results screen, to how he adjusts his gloves after stealing something, to how party members act when opening a treasure chest. Another small thing I really enjoy is when you spend time with your confidants. When you speak to them, you won't always increase your rank with them, so you have to go out and spend some time with them, such as going to one of the many tourist spots around the city or seeing a movie with them. If you choose to go around town with them, you are likely to run into other confidants around town who you can interact with as well. This is the game's way of letting you increase your confidence standings with more than one person at an event, but it's also a nice subtle touch. These conversations add an entire level of depth to the characters you interact with, and it often encourages me to take my friends to the various hotspots around town to get an even deeper look into those I am helping. Coupled with the amazing visuals, the cherry on top of this wonderful masterpiece is the game's soundtrack. Every track that is played for every situation suits the mood perfectly. From the charming music of spending time with your friends, to buying questionable goods at the airsoft shop, to the most intense battle. This game has a track that will fit every mood perfectly. This game also includes an amazing list of vocal tracks as well, and each and every one of them are just downright memorable and at times can be addicting to listen to. I found myself listening to Whims of Fate and Rivers in a Desert on a loop while writing the script for this review. This game has some of my favorite soundtracks of all time when it comes to video games. Before I close off this review, I want to talk about the game's English dub. Each and every part played in this game was done phenomenally well. The voice actors did a fantastic job of bringing these characters to life and making some of the most memorable characters in a video game I have ever played. If you're one of those people who don't like listening to the English dub, I implore you just to play through the English dub a little bit before switching back to the Japanese subs. You can actually listen and hear the amount of care and attention that these voice actors put into their parts into this game. And this was part of the reason why I was hooked so much into the game. Their performance with these characters managed to make me feel like I was there with them. So you basically heard me go into details about all the things about Persona 5 and why I really enjoyed everything about this game. Sadly, even then, I don't think I have done this game any justice. Persona 5 is one of those rare, once-in-a-generation titles that come along that can redefine the entire genre that it's in, and after finishing my 120-hour adventure with the Phantom Thieves, all I can really do is put my controller down as the credits scrolled by and say, wow. The game had managed to shatter every single expectation I had and surpassed it. Persona 5's story is also easily one of the best stories in any JRPG to date. However, that story would be nothing without the colorful cast of Phantom Thieves and their supporters. Going through this tale along with them made this journey all the more sweeter, and seeing my relationships grow with my friends made me want to keep going in this game and see what happens at the end. The gameplay for this game also, in my opinion, has almost perfected the turn-based combat genre. Never did I feel this satisfied to grind for levels and equipment in palaces and the depths of mementos. As stated earlier, there are many themes that Persona 5 delves into, and some hit home to me, that I never thought a video game would actually tell them in the right way. Persona 5 is a perfect dance of story, character development, gameplay, style, and music that creates this masterpiece that I'll be playing for years to come. While this game is tied to a review score, I believe the number I give this game can never truly capture the amazement that Persona 5 is. This game is truly an adventure that will take newcomers and veterans on a journey like no else. And that does it for our review of Persona 5. I know, that was a long one. If you want to see the written review for whatever reason, be sure to check out our website, gaminggamma.com. I'll have a link down in the description bar below whenever that review goes live. And if you're new to my channel, just finding it out right now through this review or other means, hey, be sure to subscribe and stay a while. I'll have a lot of fun here together. And I'll be doing more Let's Plays, reviews, commentaries, giveaways, and more. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I love reading them. And as always, everyone, thanks for watching.